National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News broadcast brought to you live from National News Studios here at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. I am Dishan Veerakone.
And I'm Shara Mascarenhas. First, it's a look at today's headlines.
The death toll of the Turkey earthquake exceeds 1,600. The Ceylon Electricity Board questioned the powers vested to the members of the Public Utilities Commission. Indonesian police conducts an intensive investigation into the assassination of a Sri Lankan businessman. The Agriculture Department says the yellow paddy plant disease causes no harm to the upcoming paddy harvest. Over 16 billion rupees of income is reported from the export of spices. World-famous singer Beyonce sets a new record.
Now moving on to those and other stories in detail. A magnitude 7.8 earthquake and aftershocks that struck in southern Turkey along the border with Syria caused over 1,800 deaths.
Officials in Turkey and Syria says that the death toll will continue to rise in the following hours. The death toll in Turkey has risen to 1,121 according to country's Disaster and Emergency Management Authority. The earthquakes left at least 7,634 injured and 2,834 buildings have been destroyed. The agency said 120 aftershocks have been recorded. The death toll from the earthquake in Syria has risen to at least 783 people, the government and the rescue workers in opposition-held areas say. The Syrian Ministry of Health said casualties rose to 403 dead and 1,284 injured in the government-controlled provinces of Aleppo, Latakia, Hama and Tartus. The White Helmets Rescue Group, which operates in rebel-held areas, reported more than 380 people have been killed and over 1,000 injured. Turkey's defense ministry says the country's armed forces have established an air corridor to enable medical and rescue teams to reach the earthquake-hit areas. Aftershocks following a strong earthquake can continue for several days. Multiple aftershocks of magnitude 4 or 5 have already been registered. The earthquake occurred at a relatively shallow depth of about 17 kilometers below the Earth's surface, which means it was felt with much greater intensity than if it was deeper in the crust, the elders said. The healthcare system in Syria is overwhelmed by the number of people in need of medical attention, especially as some hospitals have been damaged by the quake, and Mazen Kivara, Middle East Regional Director for the Syrian American Medical Society, reported. United States President Joe Biden says he is deeply saddened by the earthquake and the loss of life in Turkey and Syria and has promised help from Washington. In Turkey and Syria and had promised from Washington, and the Vatican says Pope Francis is deeply saddened by the major earthquake that has hit Turkey and Syria. Italy and Hungary have also offered their rescue teams in a statement. Residents in Iraqi provinces of Dohuk and Mosul and Kurdish capital Erbil have reported feeling tremors, state media reported, following an earthquake in Syria. Iran, Israel, India, Russia, Qatar and Ukraine have pledged aid to the affected countries. China says it's willing to provide humanitarian emergency aid to earthquake-struck Turkey and Syria.
Now, the Ceylon Electricity Board requests the appeal court to submit documents authorized by the members of the Public Utilities Commission demanding not to make power cuts. And the CEB made this request when the appeals court considered the writ filed against the Ceylon Electricity Board and several other respondents. When the petition submitted by the Public Utilities Commission was considered, the lawyers appeared for the respondent. The Petroleum Corporation informed the courts that 2 of the members of the PUC have resigned at present. However, the courts ordered to recall the petition on the 8th of this month. The petition filed by the Association of Egg Producers requesting the cancellation of the Gazette notification issued last August pertaining to the fixed price of eggs was considered today. The petitioners informed the court that they are ready to withdraw the petition. The Electricity Consumers Association and the Circle for Environmental Justice had filed a writ demanding the cancellation of all orders issued by the Cabinet to the Public Utilities Commission, requesting to act collectively with the Ceylon Electricity Board to increase electricity bills. The appeal court informed that the decision whether to issue notice for consideration of the petition will be declared on the 13th of this month.
Chairman of the Appeal Court, K.P. Fernando, was sworn in as a Supreme Court judge today. He took oath before President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Presidential Secretariat in Colombo for today. Appeal Court Judge Nishanka Bandulakarna Ratna also took oaths as the Chairman of the Appeal Courts before the President Ranil Wickremesinghe today. Meanwhile, High Court Judge M.A.R. Marika was sworn in as the Appeal Court Judge before President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Minister Vijay Dasa Rajapaksa, President Secretary Samaneka Naika were present at this occasion.
Now, the morning newspaper has reported that the managing director of OPEX Holdings and billionaire businessman 45-year-old Unesh Subasinghe had died in a flat in Jakarta, Indonesia. The Jakarta police is conducting investigations over the death. The newspaper has stated that the death is suspected to be an assassination. On the day of his death, Unesh Subasinghe was on an entertaining trip in Jakarta with his Brazilian wife and 4-year-old daughter and an unknown Brazilian woman. This woman is reported to have met Unesh Subasinghe and the members of his family in Colombo prior to the departure to Jakarta. Mr. Subasinghe has last talked to his relations last Tuesday. The relations has inquired the manager of the Jakarta flat regarding Mr. Subasinghe, as they have not received any call from him. Later, the management of the flat has noticed that one room of the flat was locked. Then the management has unlocked the door and seen the body of the businessman. CCTV footage of the flat shows the scenes of Mrs. Subasinghe, daughter and the unidentified woman leaving the premises. According to the investigations conducted by the Jakarta police, the incident is suspected to be an assassination. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that attention will be focused to this incident to verify the truth.
The Department of Agriculture says that yellow paddy plant disease will not cause any harm to the overall paddy harvest. Director General of the department, Mrs. Malathi Parasuraman, said that only 3% of the paddy cultivation is subjected to that disease. She made these remarks at a press briefing held in Peradeniya yesterday. Nearly 770,000 hectares of lands have been cultivated with paddy in the Maha season. The yellow plant disease is mainly reported from Mahaveli C and H zones. About 8 to 10% of the cultivation has effects of the disease. According to the Department of Agriculture, this illness is due to deficiency of potassium.
Now, the country has earned a sum of over 16 billion rupees during the last year through the export of spices. Now, the Export Agriculture Department says that the country has been able to earn a huge amount of foreign exchange by the export of spices since several decades. The highest income from the spices export was earned in 2021. It was over 19 billion rupees. There is high demand in the international market for cinnamon bark and dried cinnamon leaves. A sum of $217 million has been earned by exporting over 18,600 metric tons of dried cinnamon bark and leaves. $76 million have been taken by exporting 11,416 metric tons of pepper. The Export Agriculture Department has claimed $18 million by exporting over 1,857 metric tons of cloves. In addition, a considerable amount of cardamom, nutmeg and other export crops has been exported during the past years. Director of the Export Agriculture Department, Janaka Lindara, says that a sum of $600 million is to be generated by the export of spices this year. Now, many political parties have organized a number of public rallies and meetings for the local government election. Several such rallies were held yesterday as well. A rally organized by the Nidahase Janata Sandhane was held in Moratuwa yesterday. Addressing the gathering, parliamentarian Vimal Veeravansa said that the persons who blames others of theft is also responsible for theft. During the period of 1987, when the Indo-Lanka Agreement was signed, the JVP was against the provincial council system and killed the supporters of the government who introduced the provincial councils. Now the JVP is on agreement with the implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. A rally organised by the National People's Power was held in Bandaragama under the patronage of Party Secretary Tilvin Silva. Secretary to the National People's Power Tilvin Silva said that we can achieve two goals from this poll. We want to establish a people-friendly local government body. This poll is not only meant for local constructions such as roads, bridges and culverts, but also a turning point of the national political path. We are able to steer the country forward with new political, economic, health and cultural policies. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa was the chief guest of the public rally organised by the Samagi Janabalavegaya in the Minuwangoda area yesterday. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said that many youths are demanding a system change and we are committed to do that.
Price of 12.5 kilogram Love's domestic LP gas cylinder has been increased by 200 rupees. Accordingly, the new price is at 5,280 rupees. A 5 kilogram Love's gas cylinder is increased by 80 rupees up to the new price of 2,112 rupees. A 2 kilogram Love's gas cylinder is at 845 rupees with an increase of 32 rupees. The revised prices are effective from midnight tonight.
Now, the Foreign Affairs Minister of Pakistan, Ms. Hina Rabbani Kar, visited Sri Lanka on the 3rd of February at the invitation of the Sri Lankan Foreign Minister to participate as a special guest on the 75th Independence Day celebrations that included a cultural event and an Independence Day ceremony. Now, participating on an exclusive interview with the national television Rupavahini, she expressed satisfaction over the trajectory of bilateral relations between the two nations.
There are many areas that both countries can develop their relationship. So, according to you, what are the recent developments and what are the recent areas that we are trying to enhance our relationship?
As I said, I think there is strong institutional cooperation, and because of that institutional cooperation in multi-fora, we have built the blocks which can now allow us the journey forward. I think at the very outset, religious tourism in Taxila, a lot of Sri Lankans would find a heaven for themselves and really be attracted to it. I talked about tourism potential within Pakistan for Sri Lankan, investors. Then university link, diplomatic linkages, diplomatic institutional linkages, and as you know, we have institutional linkages within the two militaries, which has done very well. So really, I think the job of government is to ensure that people, goods and services can move freely between the two countries. Now, right now, the air linkage that Air Sri Lanka is providing has allowed many people to travel in a 3-hour time, as opposed to if you take the different route, it takes up to 16 hours. So government's job is to create the pathway on which then the private sector and people of those countries can just pursue their own objectives.
Yes, and we can enhance the free trade relationships as well.
Actually, the free trade agreement, Pakistan's first free trade agreement, was signed with Sri Lanka. And I think that shows the focus that the two countries have had, and that shows what I was earlier referring to as predictable, in which the trajectory remains focused and upward, that there are no blips, that there are no sudden stoppages. And I think that is what enhances the potential.
We are now focusing our attention more on tourism and people-to-people contacts. What are the special remarks you have to mention about these areas?
Okay, The special remarks that I have to offer to the people of Sri Lanka and to the people of Pakistan is that Sri Lankans should come to the mountains of Pakistan and Pakistanis should come to the beaches of Sri Lanka. And for both of those things to happen, the circumstances within our own countries have to be economically propelled. And we might be facing challenges, but I think South-South cooperation is the answer to many of the challenges that we face today. So when I said that it's pragmatism and logical thinking which forces our hand towards predictable relationship within the region, that is exactly what I mean. You just create the pathways of predictable behavior, of logical thinking, of logical, rather than governments coming in putting blocks to the free movement of capital, goods and services, people most importantly, the government should be creating the pathways for that to happen, and I think that's the way forward.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that although we face a difficult period today, more consolations will dawn for the country by the upcoming Asala festival season.
The President made this comment joining the inauguration of the annual Navam Perahera at the Gangarama Temple at Hunapitiya, Colombo yesterday. The Gangarama Navam Perahera festival has been organised for the 44th time for this year. President Wickremesinghe also engaged in religious observances at the Gangarama temple. Former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa also joined with the President to place the casket with Buddha relics on the back of the elephant at the auspicious time. Then the President offered felicitation of Sannaspatra to the Mahasangha. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the Gangarama Navam Perahera was initiated under a proposal of the Venerable Galaboda Gnani Siranayaka Thera in 1978. Then President J.R. Jayawardena and Prime Minister R. Premadasa both agreed to initiate this cultural event. After that, all presidents who came to office so far extended their support to continue this cultural tradition. We must be grateful to the Venerable Galaboda Gnani Sirathera for this endeavour. We are committed to safeguard the cultural heritage of the country and to build up economic stability. That is why we held the 75th anniversary of independence in a grand manner. The Perahera festival also is a part of Sri Lanka's culture. Organising this Perahera event is a blessing for the country during this difficult period. It is a good omen that we have been able to celebrate the Independence Day on the 4th and start the annual Navam festival on the 5th of this month. I expect the country will experience more solace by the upcoming Asala festival season.
අද අපි අමාරු කාලෙක හිටියත් මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඇසල පෙරහැරකාර වෙනකොට මීට වඩා සහනයක් අපිට ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා.
Later, the Perahera started parading the streets. The Perahera was colourful with traditional dances representing Kandyan, Low Country and Sabaragamuwa sectors and many other cultural items. The Perahera festival has been organised by custodian of the temples, the Venerable Dr. Kirindi Assajithera, under the Anusasana of the chief incumbent, the Venerable Galaboda Gnani Sirathera. Members of the Dayaka Sabhava of the temple, Mahasangha, public representatives, top security officials, foreign diplomats and tourists were present at the opening of the Perahera.
In the meantime, today is the third day of the exhibition held at the National Museum premises under the title of the Nidahase Mawat. And this has been organised in line with the 75th anniversary of the Independence Day. The exhibition will commence for another 5 days. The exhibition is open for the public from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Many rare items and documents that have not been exhibited earlier are in disposition at this exhibition. The students with school uniforms are permitted to the exhibition free of charge. The general public can visit the exhibition with a normal ticket. A number of rare books and booklets are also available for concessionary rates at this exhibition.
Ministers of Foreign Affairs in Bangladesh and Nepal met Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena for talks yesterday at the Temple Trees. These talks were held under the sidelines with the 75th Independence Day celebrations. Nepal Foreign Minister Dr. Bimala Rai Paudyal pointed out that the existing flights between Kathmandu and Colombo should be extended to Gautama Buddha International Airport in Lumbini. She said that it will become more convenient for the devotees and tourists to come to worship the Buddhist religious places in the Buddha's native island. Dr. Paudyal also pointed out that Nepal can study many things from the education and health sectors of Sri Lanka. She expressed the present cooperation between the two countries should be further strengthened. At the meeting with the Prime Minister, Bangladesh Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen stressed the importance to further enhance cooperation between the South Asian neighbour countries. The Prime Minister's office says that special attention was focused on the mutual support in trade, business, investment and tourism sectors. Secretary to the Prime Minister Anuruddha Dissanayake, top officials of the foreign ministries in Nepal and Bangladesh and diplomatic officials of both countries were present in these talks.
Now, Colombo Fort Magistrate Tirinagamage released social media activist Darshana Handungoda on severe conditions of bail. Now, he was taken into custody by the CID at the Katunayaka Bandaranaike International Airport last night when he arrived in the country from Dubai. The police say that he was arrested under the charge of evading the police without making a statement on an incident of releasing a video with violent activities to social media. He was brought to the CID for further questioning. He had released the said video regarding the incident that occurred in front of the temple trees on the 9th of May last year. He was questioned regarding this incident on the 31st of May last year. However, he had gone abroad without appearing before the CID on the 20th of January this year. Accordingly, the CID had obtained permission from the courts to arrest the suspect. The court ordered to recall the complainant on the 17th of May this year.
The final rites of the retired Archbishop, the late His Eminence Oswald Gomez, was held this evening at St. Lucius Cathedral. The late eminence was born in Kelaniya on the 12th of December 1932 and was ordained as a priest in 1958. Since then, he had rendered a yeoman service to the Christian religion and many other sectors, including education. He also acted as the Chancellor of the Colombo University and Aquinas Higher Educational Institute. The remains of His Eminence Oswald Gomez was brought to the Colombo University this morning for the last respects of the university staff and the students. Later, the remains were brought to the St. Lucius Cathedral in Cartagena, and His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit conducted the Requiem Mass, and the remains were buried at the special occasion in the cathedral.
Now, the opening of the fourth session of the 9th Parliament will be held on the 8th of this month under the patronage of the President. Now, Sergeant at Arms of the House Narendra Fernando announced that there will be no gun salutes and motorcades at this opening. A rehearsal in this connection was held at the Parliamentary Complex today. The new session will be inaugurated with a simple ceremony, and the President will present the policy statement of the government at 10 a.m. under the powers vested by the 33rd clause of the Constitution.
National Postal Museum exhibition and stamps display will commence from today to the 12th of this month. This exhibition has been organized at the Postal Department headquarters premises at Dr. Vijayawardena Mawathe in Colombo in line with the 75th Independence Day. The exhibition is free of charge for the public and is opened by the Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media Anusha Palpita, Postmaster General SWMRD Satkumar, and a number of guests were present at the opening. We're into a short break. We'll be back.
Prima Katami Fantamai.
And we're starting off with some foreign news and some exciting entertainment news. Beyonce won a record-breaking 32nd Grammy Award, while Harry Styles won the Album of the Year at this year's Grammy Award ceremony held in Los Angeles. Beyonce made history as she won the Best Dance Electronic Album for her euphoric dance opus Renaissance. In doing so, she overtook Hungarian-British conductor George Solti, whose record of 31 Grammys had stood for more than 20 years. She went on to thank her family, including her late uncle Johnny, who helped make her stage outfits before she became famous. Overall, Beyonce won 4 prizes at the ceremony. Yesterday's show was attended by Adele, Taylor Swift, Jay-Z, Shania Twain and Stevie Wonder, with performances from Lizzo, Steve Lacy and Brandy Carlile. British artists had a tremendous night, with indie duo Wet Leg winning 2 prizes, including Best Alternative Album, and Sam Smith receiving Best Pop Duo Group Performance for Unholy, a duet with Kim Petras. Smith's prize was their first Grammy since 2015.
Katami Fantamai.
Welcome back and taking a look at your sports stories for tonight. Now, the Sri Lanka women's cricket team won the first practice match of the T20 World Cup tournament against Ireland by a sharp 2 runs. Now, the tournament is being held in South Africa.
The Sri Lanka women's team batted first and scored 149 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in the allotted 20 overs. In reply, Ireland women's team only scored 147 runs all out in 19.5 overs. The match between Dubai Capitals and MI Emirates in the International League T20 cricket tournament was played in Dubai International Stadium yesterday. Batted first, MI Emirates scored 164 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in 20 overs. In reply, Dubai Capitals passed the victory target of 18.1 overs for the loss of 3 wickets only. Dasun Shanaka 58 not out in 36 balls and Sikandar Raza scored 56 not out.
From cricket to rugby, the Kandy team won the match against Sri Lanka Navy in the Inter-Club League Rugby tournament played in the Valisara Naval Grounds yesterday.
The Kandy team scored 18 points in the first half of the game. Sri Lanka Navy team could only get 7 points in the first half. Then in the second half, the Kandy team took 19 more points and Navy team scored 21 points in the second half. However, the Kandy team won the game with 37-28. In another match of the tournament, the CRNFC team recorded victory over the Havelocks team. The match was played at CRNFC grounds and CRNFC won the game for 17-14.
Prima Katami Fantamai.
Well, that's a wrap of tonight's Primetime News Bulletin here at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. And until we meet again next time, do take care and good night.
එංගලන්ත ජාතික කණ්ඩායම් සිහිනය අරඹයා ලංකාවට පැමිණෙන එංගලන්ත සිංහ කණ්ඩායමේ සිංහ සංචාරය. ශ්‍රී ලංකා ඒ කණ්ඩායම හා එංගලන්ත ලයන්ස් කණ්ඩායමේ දෙවන සිව්දින ක්‍රිකට් තරගය පෙබරවාරි 7 වනදා සිට 10 වනදා දක්වා ගාල්ල ජාත්‍යන්තර ක්‍රිකට් ක්‍රීඩාංගණයේදී සජීව විකාශය Channel I.
Expression of interests are invited for the selection of broadcast partners for ChannelEye by the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. For more details, please visit the Rupavahini website www.rupavahini.lk.
Kia ora, ayubowan and vanakkam, hello. Today, on the 6th of February, across Aotearoa, New Zealand, we mark the signing of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, remembering our ancestors who signed New Zealand's founding document between the British Crown and Indigenous Maori leaders. Over 180 years later, it remains a day for self-reflection on our journey as a nation thus far, celebrating our successes while recognising our failures and mistakes, all of which have helped to shape Aotearoa New Zealand into the vibrant and diverse country it is today. On the 4th of February, Sri Lanka marked its 75th years of independence. I know that the past year has been a particularly difficult one for the Sri Lankan people. And I'm sure that many of the questions we think about in New Zealand today on Waitangi Day resonate here in Sri Lanka as well. How are we going as a country? How do we overcome the challenges that face our beautiful nation as a forward-looking and united country? And how do we celebrate and support the generous, resilient and diverse people that make up and drive our country? Indeed, in the past year, I have often thought about how New Zealand can assist Sri Lanka as it embarks on its own journey of self-reflection and transformation as it seeks to emerge from its crisis. This will remain a guiding question for New Zealand's engagement with Sri Lanka this year as it shaped our engagement last year, whether through the provision of humanitarian assistance, technical expertise, or simply a kind and friendly word. In my almost 2 years here as New Zealand's first High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, I have had the joy of observing that many similarities between our two countries and finding the many ways in which we are connected, whether through trade, sports, people or democratic values. In fact, democracy is one of the most long-standing and important things that binds New Zealand and Sri Lanka as two of the world's oldest democracies. And 2023 will be an election year in both our countries, meaning that Sri Lankans and New Zealanders will be able to exercise our sacred duty of choosing our own political leaders, thus contributing to our country's trajectories in the years ahead. I wish all Kiwis and all Sri Lankans and all Sri Lankan Kiwis the best as we embark on our respective journeys of self-reflection and celebration this year. I hope that both our countries and communities continue to foster these important Kiwi values. Manakitanga, hospitality and kindness, kotahitanga, solidarity and unity, and whanakitanga, connectedness, at the cornerstone of our country's development, growth and mutual cooperation. Ngā mihi, and thank you for taking the time to think of Aotearoa New Zealand on this day of national importance.